Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about one of the most asked questions. Which platform should you choose to finally host your agents after you have developed them? So you have developed your Voiceflow agents and you want to host them on a platform where your clients can see that and can easily manage them, right? So there are two options right here. One is ChatDash and the other is Voiceglow, right? So it's Voiceglow with the G and the other one is ChatDash. And these are two different platforms which we are going to explore today. I am going to compare them on a perspective of how easy it is to host a Voiceflow agent on them, what are the features that they offer, how does the UI look like, and finally, what does it come down to, the pricing part of it. So without any further ado, let's get started and we're going to compare, put them head to head. Awesome. So I have these platforms opened up here, right? And on the right hand side is Voiceglow. I've changed it to dark mode. So simply like, you can see the difference. And on the left, we have ChatDash, right? So again, the links of these will be in the description. So if you guys go ahead and want to check them out, go ahead and do that, right? But first of all, we're going to start with literally if you are going to set up your agent, how are you going to do so? This is where we end up, right? Again, I've already signed in, so I'm not going to do that. Just simply you come to chatbots on the left-hand side on ChatDash and click on add a chatbot. It's similar here on the Voiceglow space. You click new agent. And if you see, there are a couple of options there. On the left, ChatDash wants to be a platform for multiple options, while Voiceglow also has kind of their own platform for building agents, and you can also use Voiceflow. So we are going to look at it from a perspective of just Voiceflow agents, because again, that's one of the best options out there. So again, we are just going to input the name. So I'm just going to write Vidya. I'm just going to copy this, copy paste here, and then click on create. Right. And then again, I have to input these details. So give me a second until that gets created. So if you see, as soon as you create an agent, it takes you to this particular page. And again, you have to input the API key here also and the project ID here itself. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show that for obvious reasons. And then let's see how we proceed. Awesome, perfect. So this is done and we have created both the chatbots. I have input the API key and everything else. Again, this is hidden obviously and all the options, but very simply, both of them offer a simple interface where you can go ahead and simply like utilize this and go from there. So one comes to this and the other option of Voiceglow literally looks like there is like so many different options. And if I increase the size to this, you can see like it starts showing you how to edit the agent, right? Now, here is one thing that I need to mention when you're using any of these platforms. Why I kind of like, prefer one or the other is like something separate, but let me explain how does this work. So Voiceflow already offers you an option to integrate using their JavaScript code, right? Now you can use that and literally host your agents everywhere. The way that these platforms are promoting themselves is that not only the option to manage your agents, which we are going to look at, but they also give you an option to use their own widgets. So if you see this, right, I can, whatever I change here, for example, I change it to like, this is a YouTube video and it will start showing up here. And I technically would be able to take the code that Voiceglow is giving me and host it on a website. That means whenever someone is interacting through my agent, they're going to use Voiceglow's widget. Okay. Same way on the ChatDash option, they also have, if you click here at the chatbot, you have an option to either use the ChatDash widget or use an external widget. When I'm saying an external widget, that could literally be the Voiceflow widget. Exactly tell you what I'm talking about. Let me show you how Voiceflow widget works, right? This is the widget that you're going to use. Now, to utilize this, you simply just change whatever is available here, right? There are a couple of options. It's not super customizable. To customize it more, there are like, you have to do a bit more work. You have to input a CSS file and everything else. And you can technically copy paste this whole code and take it with you, right? And that's how it technically works. You just copy and paste this, put this in the body tag, and it is available everywhere. Now, to use this particular feature, there is no extra cost. Like if you're paying for a Voiceflow subscription, you don't need to pay anything else for that. And that is simple enough. You can just use it and that's great, right? But the problem is if you're using any of these platforms and if you're using their widgets, that means if you're using what Voiceglow is offering you as this widget, if you want to take all that customization, or even if you're using Voice, if you're using ChatDash for that, then it costs you extra. So again, we need to like keep that in mind. But right now, I'm going to look at like it from perspective. Okay, if I want to use Voiceglow's widget, now let's see what is added more on that, right? So first of all, if you see, there is not a lot. Like you can see the knowledge base, right? Again, my knowledge base is not crazy. It's just simply the website, and then some conversations, right? Again, you can see from now onwards whatever conversations happen, and then basic analytics, channels is something that I will talk about later. But again, like a ton of options are available which you can utilize this. Right now, if I click on prototype, you can see as soon as I go to prototype, it will take me to another page where I can actually test out the widget that we have just created. And if you see, this looks very different than what I was actually using on Voiceflow. So if you look at this Voiceflow widget, looks like this. Like literally, it is just like simple. There is no background. There's nothing, and it just works, right? It's just pretty simple. But Voiceglow, because we are going to utilize their platform, you can do all these kind of customizations. Now again, same thing also happens on the ChatDash platform. So if you click here, click on edit default settings, you can again tend to technically change their options and everything else. So monthly incoming text message limit or a couple of options. And obviously you can see this looks again very different. You can upload a project. You can, if you want to use any of this thing, it's obviously a paid feature and to use it and XYZ and everything else, right? Now, if you look at this, a lot of these features are pretty similar on both the options, right? And this is not a demo on how to use these features. So I'm just going to keep it to the point of comparison, right? They have the channels option. You also have the channels option here, right? So you can connect with multiple channels. What does channel connections mean? If you want to input your Voiceflow agent into an Instagram, into something else, into WhatsApp, you can use that, right? And they directly connect you. It's a simple option to do that. Then they obviously have like, again, else like conversations and knowledge bases, obviously like pretty normal. And they have basic analytics, which is again AI analysis, and there are also other analysis to parse data and everything else, right? Now, again, this is pretty similar on both the ends, but the also idea is that you get started with Voiceglow on from a free setup, right? The only thing is like, the way Voiceglow charges you and the way ChatDash charges you is completely different. And we are going to come to that in a bit. But very simply, from an option wise, technically they have enough options on the both ends. Obviously, Voiceglow has a couple of more options from like a channels perspective to integrate and everything else. And again, you can use that, right? So there are other couple of things which you can actually use more, which are available in a settings perspective in Voiceglow, which is not comparative to ChatDash. Like ChatDash also has some things, right? Like again, like live agent or like auto start, auto launch widget or record conversation. Again, these are all things that you can do yourself using CSS and JavaScript in Voiceflow. It's just like it's like an abstraction layer on top of it. Okay, so again, you can see like there are multiple other options that they've created, like fixed and listen for URL and everything. So obviously, Voiceglow looks better from a perspective of like just like having much more options. But I would like to tell you a caveat here. It is also good to understand how much of this are you going to use, because when we come to pricing, it's going to be a different conversation. So I just want to like set that tone up front. So again, this is an option. You can use it and deploy the agents and have all those options. So what we're going to do is we're just simply going to say save, right? And I want to save this also. I just want to like, I'm just going to create this. So we have a difference and just click save. Okay, now both these agents are technically ready, right? So I can click on agents. And this is like a completely new account I've made so that there's nothing on it before, and I can show you guys everything. And you can see the chatbot here also, right? Now, this is already there. Your agents are added. You can use them. And again, this is for a YouTube video. So I've added that. Now comes the second part, which we need to look at, is about setting up like an agency platform. What does that mean? So if you're running an agency and if you're trying to deploy your client, they don't want to know about Voiceglow or ChatDash. They technically want to know about one thing, which is just inputting details about an agency, right? So we can come here and put agency name. So I'm just going to put better with AI, right? I can put some branding text. I'm just going to say, this is a YouTube video, right? And then technically you can again like, save anything, but I'm just going to click save. Again, I'm going to come here, do the same thing here for my agency. And then I can just go ahead and click on settings and come back here. I can upload a logo or something. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to change the name. Select this, and then there is an API key and everything if you want to do something. And then again, we'll come to the pricing. White labeling is something that if in case you want to like, white label, that means like, you want to like put your logo instead of all of those things, you can do that. But we are not going to do any of that. We're just going to keep it here and that's it. Okay. Now, what do we want to do? We want to technically add a client. Right now, what does adding a client mean? That someone has to come and log into this page, right? Because you've set up your agency, but you need to still add a client. So what are we going to do is I'm just going to add Akshat and the client's login ID Akshat, the client email. I'm not going to put that. I'm just going to put password as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I made a password here for client. I'm just going to click on create, but I also want to show you how this looks for here also. So again, I'm just going to add a new client. I can just say Akshat, and I'm going to say voice Akshat, and let's just keep it there. I want to click add, right? And if you look at it, I think this is much more simpler than like, creating a password and everything else, right? But I will actually like to go ahead and click manage and see there, add a user. Now, this is what you have created an organization, right? So if I select here, I can technically select the organization part and again, go ahead and create that. But if you look at it, what ChatDash is treating a new client as is simply just a single client. It's not treating it as an organization, which I kind of like, right? You should technically give me an option at start, right? But it's okay. It's the same most of the time, so I'm not going to nitpick that. So let's say I create like, ChatDash, and I think it will again take me to the same option. Add a user, I'm just going to add a user. There is already a password created. Don't worry, this is not going to work after, right? I'm just going to keep that open. And then I'm just going to copy and paste this. So I have it. Okay, org admin and everything. There are options what this person can see. So what should we allow this person to see? Maybe they just should be able to see home, conversations, analytics, knowledge base. Maybe they should not be able to adjust the prompt. Maybe they should be able to, or maybe they should not be able to see the analytics of the conversation or whatever, right? Again, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to go ahead and add a user. They need an email, which I don't think is great, because in case someone does not want to add an email, they just want to like something, I'm just putting a test email because I don't want to put something. Okay, perfect. Now, if I come here back, let me just like probably go organization detail. I need to edit a member. That means I need to create a new member. Again, I'm going to create Akshat, and then we are just going to put Akshat and no email. And I'm just going to create a password that I've used. And that's it. Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to create this also, and technically we have both the options ready on both the ends. Now we are going to try. I want to see how they look when we are trying to log in into their pages, right? So let's go to client login, and I want to go back to this also and see how I can log in into the client, right? One thing I do prefer about Voiceglow is that it's simpler, like it's just there from a management perspective, right? But again, it's a very small change between both of them. Both of them offer very cool options on how to manage this option, how to manage the clients and everything. Okay, awesome. Now we have created both of these and we want to assign something, right? So whenever you can see your clients here, right? Again, similarly, I can see my clients here. The only thing, like, UI wise, this is just better. Like I can just technically drag and drop this again, like a simple thing, like, just makes the UI better on the Voiceglow part. What we can do is we can come back here and simply same thing here. We can just click on project assign, select this, and I'm just going to select this, assign this, and this will get assigned. Now, what does this mean? Very simply, we're just assigned the chatbots that we have added so that when the client logs in, they should just be able to see what they are technically assigned to. You should not be able to see all the chatbots, so you should not be able to see a blank chatbot, right? Now, what we're going to do is I've already opened the login page here. I also have an option to preview here, so I can just go ahead and preview that. I'm going to sign in, right, on both the sites and just see how does the dashboard looks like for every option, right? Let's see. Okay, it gave me an option to sign in, and this is how it will look for your clients, right? This is not how it's going to look for you, it's going to look for your clients, right? And you can see like this is decently, and I want to probably like show you properly every page. And then so this is like decent, right, everywhere. So this is the agency name, this is my agency, right? And I will put the details. You can see the token usage, the dashboard, the conversation, incoming messages, and everything, right? We can have the knowledge base. So whatever knowledge base is available, you can add it, change it, or anything else, right? I would say pretty simple, right? But again, I can add a menu item. I can I can add a custom menu, which is great. Like I can create a widget which I need to show to the clients, and they can like see that on the left hand side. This is pretty cool. Like just to add a custom menu, like you can select something. So if I want to add like education, and like just maybe like create this, and I can add an iframe here that can be shown up here. So that means like I can also customize the dashboard that they're going to see a lot. I have an option to edit layout, right? Again, obviously this is paid, right? We are going to come to the pricing in a second, but very simply you can edit the layout if else. This is great because just to get started, this is free of cost, and like we have paid $0 till now, and it is available everything on this site, right? Now let's come back to Voiceglow, right? This is how it looks, right? Again, uh, obviously like just going in, I would say like from UI perspective, this looks better just from a user perspective, like just to see the unique traffic, total interactions, and everything. Here you have the incoming messages and total conversations, but also I don't know, like for some reason in my brain, I would prefer this one just to show more stats rather than like I can see it's there, but I would just prefer that on the left. Maybe just me from an analytical brain, but this thing is great, but everything else below, like I would want more analytics here. But let's see. Click on knowledge base. Again, it's going to be simple. It's not going to be crazy on the knowledge base. You can just see what documents are there, update them, add them, and everything. Conversations wise, again, you can see what is there, and analytics is where like again, it's probably going to be the same as like obviously it does not have enough data, right? Like it's more or less similar on both the sides, right? So monthly interactions and everything, you can see the agents and online and offline and all of those things. You can change it and toggle it from there. But this is pretty awesome, right? Both the options looks simple. On maybe the UI part, again, I will say like obviously from just like from a look and feel perspective, from what an average user is going to look at, maybe it looks better on Voiceglow. So we'll do that scoring in a bit. But this is how it will look for your clients, which I do believe is pretty decent, right? Workspace Akshat and like selected agent. This is good. I would just honestly think like, here, and I'm nitpicking here, maybe yes. Like I kind of like that it's not on the top, like, or probably am I making a mistake now? So everything on the top does not make sense. Like it's just too many things. Like why I have like people, most of them will just have one agent, right? So I should not have like a slash and a slash. And maybe this like again, I have to judge this on a UI part, right? This is just like too not great UI, right? I would preferably like it in the sidebar and just keep it there, right? And that's what ChatDash is doing here, right? So that's why like again, the point is maximum people are just going to have like one thing, one agent, right? So if they want to switch, they can, and there are options, but I would just like to have it on the left hand side, right? Okay, awesome, perfect. This is how it looks for your clients, and everything else comes together. Okay, but now we come to the crux of this whole conversation. Okay, so there are decent features on both the ends. Obviously, I think from feature perspective of what you can customize with voice flow is goes to the right. But let's see. Let's come to the pricing part, because that's where everything is going to come down to. Okay. Okay. Now, before the pricing question starts and we come and discuss that, I would like to say something. Okay. First of all, I think both of those platforms are pretty decent, right? But from a features perspective, Voiceglow has got a lot of features, right? Which I also think are overkill if you are not using them, and like you have to like just see all these options and something happens, right? But also like if you want them, they are great. Like you can use that, right? It also reduces a lot of overlay work. So from a features perspective, completely Voiceglow right now wins the platform. But also like you have to understand it's been longer in the game, and like ChatDash came after and everything. But again, they have got the features part right, but also at a very minuscule scale, right? It's not a crazy difference. Second, on the UI part, I would say that they are equal. Like honestly, from a UI perspective, like it's just a matter of like what you like and what someone else might like, right? So I would say like it's not something crazy, right? I can give some points to ChatDash, I can take some points away from Voiceglow and give some points to Voiceglow and take that away. But one thing that I really like in ChatDash, which I could use, is like a custom menu options if you want to create something that's great, right? But the same way, like if I could see in Voiceglow, there are other options. I'm just going to give them equal points on that, right? So right now, it does look like Voiceglow comes out of the winner, right? But let's come down to the main crux of this whole thing is the pricing, because that's what you're going to actually think about when you're going to decide on one of these platforms, when they are technically kind of equal on a lot of bases. Okay, now coming to the pricing part, right? Here is our two plans on ChatDash, and we are just going to look at monthly. We are not going to look at yearly. I don't care how much discount they offer. I'm thinking it from a beginner's perspective. You are going to choose a monthly plan. Okay, ChatDash is $35 a month, right? And Voiceglow does not have kind of like a fixed price monthly plan. Let me explain what does that mean. And this is where things get tricky. Okay, so if you see to Voiceglow, there's something called 5,000 credits per month. Now, what are credits? And they have like this huge explanation right down below. And I'm just going to like zoom in a bit so that you guys can see what does this explanation look like. Right, and just move myself here. Right, so if you see this, it's technically agent interactions. Right, so every time someone interacts with your agent, there is a credit that gets deducted from your account. So imagine of this, like you have a wallet of 5,000 credits, and every time someone uses your agent, right, you get a -1 on that, right? Second, every time someone is using it from a different channel, you get another -1. So if you're using it from web, it's just -1, but if you're using it from Instagram, it's -2, okay? And also, if you're using any of the tools or like, using like the UI engine also, like, again, it's another half credit, right? And agent interactions, if you look at it, whenever someone's on any channel sends a message, that's when it like gets credited, like it's get debited from your account, right? So I would like to like I would love to show you an example, a quick example to this, but I'll also like to show you like they have a whole calculator to discuss on like every time like when there is an interaction. So every time someone is even talking to your agent and the number of conversations that they have, it's going to get a -1 on your credit cycle. Okay, and let me show you how this works. Okay, I have this open as a demo, right? I'm just going to write hi. I don't think it should respond anything. Like this is not a built agent. This is just like a test platform that I keep using, right? So sorry, I didn't get that. Maybe I select like a rating or something. And I just want to show you how the credits get calculated. That's why I'm just like randomly doing this. And it will not load because that's an embed and everything. hi again. I just want to see like what happens when you have 3 messages. Okay. And all of this is done. We are just going to leave it there. And I'm just going to like technically close this. I want to end the chart. And then I want to refresh this and show you what does the number of interactions and everything look like. Okay. So let's go to usage, right? And if you see, total credit usage is 5. So this is just this conversation. I've never used this platform before in this new account, right? So just based on like 3 interaction, it has always deducted one credit every time there has been a message. So every time, it's not that just once it has deducted -1. And let me just move myself so you guys can see. There is like a -1 on every time someone has had an interaction. Like every time the same person, like I was the one who was talking to it, there is a -1 every time, right? So you're -1, -1, -1, and like they've deducted 5 credits in total just on one chart. And that's 3 messages. And that's where I am not sure how this pricing works when you have multiple agents. Okay, so let's come back to the pricing page again. Now you have an idea of what does this mean, right? How does the billing part work, right? How does the credits matter? So they are telling you like, okay, it's like 5,000 credits. But for example, if someone is having a conversation with your agent for let's say 100 messages, and like that's the same chat, it's 100 credits deducted. 100 credits, and if you have like 200 conversations on an average with an agent, it's roughly like let's say a 50 message exchange, and which is pretty normal if you're thinking about it. Okay, it's not crazy to have like 50 messages with an agent. You will probably end up with like 10,000 credits to be used. So that means if you're using like 5,000 credits or 10,000 credits, it's $20. Let's say every time you want to add more credits, I think there is a cost calculator given, right? So let's say you have like 5,500 credits required. You can see the amount that is required, right? So 0.004, multiply that by like, again, the number of credits that you get. So every time someone has 5,000 interactions with it, you will have to pay like another $20. And this is on top of what you're already going to pay to Voiceflow to use their whole subscription model and everything. And like, because they have to pay to services and everything, and we're going to into that. But this is on top of that. Remember that. Okay. So if you have like 5 agent slots, this free 5 agent slots, you have 5 agents. I'm telling you, you will burn through this very quickly, extremely quickly. Okay. So I'm just going to move this. And then again, there are other prices. So if you add like an add-on, like a white label add-on, that's like $200 per month, right? I don't think that's great. Like $200 is a lot, okay, per month. That too, and like maybe if I switch to an yearly plan, maybe there's something different. I don't know. But like let's say it's on a monthly plan, super crazy. So from pricing perspective, it just does not make sense for me in my brain. Like I can't fathom to pay another additional amount, which technically is like charged to the clients, not charged to the clients, depending upon that, right? So that's where my thing is, because you are using someone else's platform, which I don't think is super different, right? But from a pricing perspective, does not make sense to me, might make sense to you again. So that's what I'm going to say. There are obviously other options. They have tools as such, like, you can have like a human handoff and a KB search that also exist on ChatDash. But again, like just taking a raw example, if you're launching a high volume chatbot, this is not a great option, because you need to, or else just think about that from a pricing perspective on how much that is going to cost, because that's an additional cost that you have to take place. Coming to ChatDash, right? Again, it's pretty simple. Okay, they have a widget that you can utilize. There is nothing credit wise. It's just $35 per month, and that's it, right? And then if you want like unlimited stuff, it's $50 per month. And if you go annual, it's much cheaper. The point is, I don't need to explain this pricing to you, and that is pretty good. When you are trying to already build a crazy great agent, you don't have to worry about like another 10 things. This is just from perspective of usage wise, it's just simple. This is what I want. You want a platform to manage your chatbot for an agency perspective, for your clients and everything. It works. That's it. Like it's simple, pretty good, decent enough features. Others keep getting added from a perspective, and just like that. It might look like that I'm preferring ChatDash. I will say honestly, yes, for projects which I would recommend someone, I'll just say if you don't need crazy amount of features which Voiceglow is offering and you are going to pay additional for that every time you use it, ChatDash is great. It has already a lot of options that you can utilize, and just be a bit creative and you can use that. But that's where my recommendation comes down to. Okay, from a pricing perspective, there is nothing beating ChatDash. Now, I've given you an overall video, right? So from a pricing perspective, ChatDash completely wins. From a features perspective, maybe Voiceglow wins right now. And from UI perspective, we are just going to neglect that. So it's an equal tussle, but just on my perspective, on a personal view, which is what you're looking for, I would prefer ChatDash any day, just based on like, it just makes sense to have that decent pricing. It's like I'm using another platform and I'm paying your monthly fee, not like a usage fee and everything. because I'm already doing that with Voiceflow, and that makes sense because they have to pay people, and it's not that they're charging for their platform. They're charging that for because they have to pay for the models and everything. So that's what I'll say. This is my final submission on this. So again, just like very simply, you can utilize this, and this is pretty good. And you can have like a branded agency client dashboard and everything in $35 a month. So if you want to go with that from a beginner's perspective, and if you're not like using those, I don't know, like 10, 20 different features, I have never used more than 4 or 5 of them in either of the platforms because there's no need for that. Like you just have to be a bit creative and utilize what is required. Just go from there. Okay. But with that, thank you so much for watching the video. If you've watched till here, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. And keep sending this to people if you can. And I'll see you in the next video.